Welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Intimacy Podcast with Nick and Amy.
Yep, gonna be a good one.
Amy prepared it, so of
I
course it'll be a good one.
did.
Anyone she prepares is a good one. Anyone I prepare, it's a little iffy.
You
It's a
always
little
say that, and
sketchy.
that's so not true. But let's jump right in today. We had some friends that mentioned the other day the question. The husband looked at his wife, and he said this to a bunch of us that they had this conversation in their marriage. So it's like it's
It's
fine that
okay to
we
say,
share it.
yeah.
But we've had this discussion many times in our marriage. And he asked his wife, "Do you love me more than the kids or as much as the kids?" What was the question exactly? Do you remember? Do you love me as much as the kids? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I don't remember. As much as the kids or
As
more
much as
than
the
the
kids?
kids?
As much as the kids,
As
okay?
probably as much as the kids, because if he said as more than the kids,
Yeah.
that'd be
As much
tougher to
as
answer.
it was as much as the kids. Do you love me as much as the kids, right? And I just there's a lot of husbands that ask that question, I think.
Or they wonder that
Or
question.
they wonder that question and don't dare ask that question, but feel like asking that question, right? So we're going to discuss that question today. I wanted to just share some of the things that we want to talk about. I kind of made a list so that I wouldn't be all over the place. But why husbands ask this question? Where does that question come from? Why would a husband wonder? I wonder if my wife loves me as much as the kids.
Because a lot and often in a lot of marriages all the focus is on the kids, all the time is
Right,
on the kids, and
right,
then a wife doesn't have any time to be romantic or
right.
you know
Yep, we're going to jump into that. Why are they feeling that? Is it jealousy or are they just not feeling prioritized anymore, right? What are the wives possibly doing, even unintentionally, that would make a husband feel this way? And we're not going to put all on the wives. There are seasons where kids take up a lot more time. So is this healthy? Is this unhealthy? Where's that balance? We're going to talk about that. And can both marriage and kids be prioritized? We say yes. We're going to talk about that. What does that balance look like? How to bring this topic up without being slash offended, but being able to have like a good conversation. Like I
yeah.
feel like I'm not prioritized. That's a great question to ask.
And there are a lot of husbands that feel that way. I mean, we
Absolutely,
we hear from so many of them, and there
absolutely,
are wives that feel that way. Let's
absolutely.
be
It goes,
totally straight and
yeah, it can
honest. Yeah.
totally go both ways. And last one is what goals can couples set so that one person isn't feeling like this in the relationship to make the marriage stronger, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of those are
Well,
kind of things that I wanted to bring up today. Some questions and
Well, I think it goes in line with this a little bit. Is we were out to dinner with some friends the other night, and we were talking about he's actually a therapist, and we were talking about how people don't fall out of love, and he's like, I totally agree, right?
right,
Like I
right.
totally agree. And he said something very powerful, and I'm like, oh my heck, I got to write that down. And of course,
You
I
didn't.
I didn't, but we'll have him on the podcast in a future episode. But he said something very profound enough that I don't remember. Um, but
Maybe I'll remember.
basically, we often feel like when we get married, it's over, right? Like we dated and everything, and then once you get married, the romance and everything's over. But that's actually when it should just
Should start.
begin.
Right.
Marriage should be the beginning of something, not the end of something. And I think a lot of us, when we start having kids and things like that, our priorities just
Mhm.
completely change, which they shouldn't.
And it's usually a mom thing. We have this nurturing in us that yeah, we're going to prioritize our kids big time, right? Like it just happens. It's not a bad thing. It just needs balance, right?
And a lot of you are
Not a
thinking
bad
right,
thing.
a lot of you are thinking right now, where are you going with this? Because, I want to know because like of course we, prioritize the kids, right?
Right,
Or how
absolutely.
or how do we prioritize our marriage over the kids? That sounds like, oh, then the kids are going to be
Yeah.
neglected. That's
I've
not,
talked about that
yeah,
a
that's not what we're
million
saying at
times,
all.
but we're gonna talk both sides. Like we're gonna try to talk both sides like we always do. So I wanted to start out with some of the comments slash messages that we get, how husbands are feeling and how wives are feeling, so that we make sure that we're talking both sides. Okay. So we've heard husbands say, I made a list. I feel like I'm competing with my kids for her attention. I miss the way she used to look at me before we had kids. Sometimes I wonder if she even wants me anymore. I know she loves me, but I don't feel it the way that I used to. I don't want to be first. I just don't want to feel like I'm last.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's some
Yeah,
of
those
the,
are
I mean, there's plenty more. Okay. Here's what wives might say. I love him, but the kids just need me more right now. I don't know how to give 100% to everyone. I feel it's impossible. When I finally get a break, I just want rest, not more expectations. I never meant to make him feel second. I just feel pulled in every direction, which is true. I'm a mom. I wish he could see that loving the kids doesn't mean I don't love him as much. So you can feel that divide, right? Like you can feel that I just want her to want me the way she did before we had kids. And I would say that like just my personal opinion, my guess is that like 90% of men probably feel like that. In
yeah,
one way
I
or
would say
at one time or another, right?
yeah, I would think so too. And the other thing we've talked about so often too is we feel loved completely different. Like men and women feel loved in completely different ways. So
Right. And when you hear that the women's side of that, and a lot of you women that are listening, you're probably like, yeah, I feel pulled in every single direction. I feel like and sometimes it feels like my husband has needs and it's like just another need to be fulfilled or another person to have to take care of me. And I'm already taking care of all these little people. And of course they need me more. And yeah, when they're young, they do need you more. I would spend all day long when I was a stay-at-home mom with my kids. They needed me all the time, right? Like, so we have to remember this isn't a time thing. It's about a making your spouse feel loved thing. And that's what I really want to concentrate because moms are going to feel pulled in every direction. Husbands, I don't think it's fair that a husband should get married and then you have a family and then all of a sudden they feel like they're just not wanted anymore. Like that's not cool
and
either.
vice versa for the wife, right?
Vice versa for the wife and husband. Yes, but husbands absolutely can do that too. So, anyways, let's just jump into starting with why husbands would ask this question and what are they really feeling. And so I want you to just share like your side. I know there's been plenty of times in our marriage where you're like, gosh, those kids just her whole life is the kids now. Like absolutely. And I don't think that most women choose to be like that or choose to act like that or make their husband feel like that. I think just naturally, like we're nurturers, they're our babies, we're taking care of our babies. Even like though my kids are teenagers, I'm like, they're my babies. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's intentional, but it's easy for a husband to be like, I feel like I'm last on the list.
Yeah, and I would say there's been times in our marriage where it's no secret that we've kind of experienced that, and we've
Right.
shared that in other podcast episodes. But the thing I want to point out is it wasn't like it was a major shift that all of a sudden it was like it went from this to this and it was a real major shift. We've talked about this before. It's not necessarily a time thing, right?
Mhm.
Like it could be just a night where Amy says, thank you for everything. Would you like to make love tonight? Right? Like something as simple as that. It didn't change the time she spent with the kids. But it sent a clear message that I prioritize you. I love you. You're important to me. And like I said, it's something that maybe 10, 15 minutes, right? Like it's something so little, but it was such a big thing and just I feel like anyways for me, like it completely changed a lot of things for us because, instead of feeling like, yeah, she doesn't love me, she doesn't desire me now, I know that you love me, I know you desire me, and I know that I am a priority. And
Mhm.
and I've tried to do things in our marriage too to obviously show that as well, the other way. I think it's a lot easier. I don't think a lot of men have a problem prioritizing the kids or too much stuff over their wife. Maybe they
Maybe some
do.
do, yeah.
I know it goes both ways, but we hear we can only go off our experience and what we hear from our audience, and 90% of the messages are just husbands just pleading like, "What do I
Mhm.
do? I want so badly just to connect with my wife or feel loved by my wife, but our kids are the priority, or her phone's the priority, or whatever.
Mhm.
She says she doesn't have time, but yet she can scroll on her phone for 2 hours, right?
Right, right.
So
Yeah, like I agree. Obviously, this could be such a deeper topic, like what's going on, like men scroll their phones too. Is she feeling
sure,
disconnected? Does she
yeah.
feel like she's doing all the parenting, right? Like, does she feel like she's the one that's having to do all the nurturing and all the cleaning and all the cook? Like, it's just, I mean, I know it can go a lot deeper, and a lot of women are like, I am physically exhausted. I am emotionally exhausted because I feel like I do everything. Like, that's a whole nother episode, right? I don't want to have to like get into that. Like, yeah, if she's not feeling like a teammate in the marriage, she's going to feel overwhelmed. She's going to feel like she's the only one doing a lot of things, and that disconnect's just going to keep growing.
For sure.
But it definitely goes both ways. So I was just gonna throw up a little example. You threw in like, initiating or desire, but like let's talk more simple things. Like it's not always about you have to go, not have to, sorry, get to go give 20 minutes at night to be intimate or whatever. That only happens, when you have a bunch of kids or family or you're just really busy, whatever the reason is. That's not always going to happen all the time. But let's talk simpler things. So I was thinking the cute moms that like put little love notes in their kids' lunch boxes or do little things like that to just really tell their kids like have a great day. I prioritize you. You mean the world to me. Like how easy would it be to just text your husband a little love message at his lunchtime and say, I still love you and desire you so much. And I think the reason I'm bringing that up because if you were to ask husbands, do you need her full attention at night for an hour or do you need this big long time with her? The husbands are going to be like, dude, that
No.
text would change my life.
Mm-hmm.
That 30-second text would show me that she still prioritizes me as much as the kids. And that's the whole point of this podcast, I feel like, is like it doesn't take much to make a husband feel loved. If you sent that loving
It
text,
really does.
or just, hey, yeah, I do want to be with you later tonight. Let's go on a walk and hold hands and just talk. I want to hear about your day, honey, at work. Or just like those little tiny things we do. I can guarantee that a husband's never going to be like, do you love me as much as the kids? It's like 30 seconds of intention. So when we're talking about time and like, oh, you spend all this time with the kids, like if you text your husband how much he loved and appreciated how hard he worked or just anything romantic or sexy or whatever, he's going to be like, oh, she absolutely loves me as much as she loves the kids. Look at this text I just got. It's just that easy, right?
Oh, it really is.
Like,
Yeah.
do you agree with that being a man? Like, I think we're overthinking this as women. And though it's just that easy to make him feel loved. And both ways. Both
Yeah,
ways.
it really is very easy to make a man happy. It really is. I mean,
I hear from so many husbands, and maybe this is a joke, but like they're just like, yeah, I just love it. And my wife would just make me a sandwich. Like it just shows that she's willing to nurture him and just still like prioritize. Like I still love you.
yeah.
I still want to like serve you in some way. Because a husband's serving a wife if he's working hard and doing things like it looks different to everyone, I understand. But
Oh, for sure.
okay. So next thing to discuss, is it jealousy or not feeling prioritized? And I mean that goes hand in hand with what we just said, but do you think husbands are literally jealous of the kids? Or are they just, it's more just like, I don't feel prioritized, right?
No, I don't. I would say most husbands don't feel jealous of the kids. It's not just not feeling prioritized. Again, we go back to, we've said this 1,000 times. If a wife just simply initiated or did some little things, it would completely change everything. It would completely change a husband's mindset from
Right.
feeling, oh, she doesn't desire me to a split second, like, oh, I'm the happiest guy in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
So
could
what
speak
should,
from a husband's point of view. Like, if I'm feeling that way and Amy comes in and says, hey, would you like to make love tonight? Like, immediately I'm like switched,
that's all
right?
Nick needs, we know.
No, but I'm speaking to the
Easy
guy.
man,
I'm
easy
speaking
guy.
to the guys and the women because most of the guys out there are exactly like me. Like this is the way we're
Okay.
wired. This is the way we're built. And all the guys out there are shaking their heads. They're like, I totally agree with Nick. And the women are, maybe don't understand it. But
Okay,
that's
well,
why I'm
let's
just
talk about
saying it's
this.
real
Let's
simple.
talk about this situation. So I get up and make my kids breakfast. I take them to school. They're home from school. We run into our things. We're a team because we work together all day. But like, and that might look different. You might be a stay-home mom. You might be a working mom. Whatever that looks like to you. But you dawdle on your kids, make dinner, take care of them, put them to bed, like spend all day long
Yeah.
with them, right? And that can go for 3 days. But if a wife was like, even on day 3 or 4, said, hey, honey, I would love to connect with you intimately tonight. He's not going to think about those 3 days where he felt like he was lower.
Absolutely
It's
not.
going to be erased just that quick,
Absolutely.
right? He's going to be
100%.
like, oh my gosh, like just the fact that every few days you're willing to like super prioritize me, I feel loved,
100%.
right?
You hear that spot on. Yeah.
So it's not like this big time thing. I think most husbands would agree that it's not this big time thing. I just need to feel like you still desire me. It really comes down to that. And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the opposite end of the deal, but anything that you want to add to
No, no,
that?
I think that's spot on, and everything you're saying is 100%.
Okay, so still sticking on that subject, what wives might be doing, even unintentionally, that sparks that question. So what, like when we were in that situation where you kind of felt like, gosh, we have all these kids and now like I'm just low on the totem pole, what kind of things make a man feel like that?
Well, I think number one, like just society in general. I mean, how many men say, "Oh, the second the ring went on, like I was
Yeah,
no longer a priority," or the second we had our kids, I was no longer a priority. Many men feel that way, and so I think, society kind of just teaches us that that's the way it's going to be, and just pretty much accept it, right? That's the way
right.
it is for everyone, and that's not true. I mean, that's certainly not true. Um, you know, Obviously, like I said, the time thing isn't really the issue. It's just
Mhm.
um, couples seem to not prioritize date night, or they're
Right.
not connecting intimately. There's no romance.
Hmm.
Like I said, maybe the wife's too tired at night. And again, I throw out there that in certain cases can be a husband's fault too, right?
Right.
But
Right.
like we talk about so often, the natural tendency is, if a wife isn't prioritizing the relationship or prioritizing her husband, naturally a husband's going to withdraw, right? And then the wife's going to be like, well, he doesn't love me. Why is he, we aren't
Hmm.
emotionally connected. And so it's kind of a double thing, right? Like it's not just the husband feeling that way. The wife typically feels a certain way because the marriage then gets disconnected. The wife's not getting the emotional needs. She may have, and if she's not getting the emotional needs, she may focus more time on the kids, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean,
Absolutely.
I
But you
think it's
bring
a
up a really good
cycle.
point.
I think it's a cycle that most marriages get into, and it's not something you subconsciously know you're doing or want to do. It just naturally just happens that way. And then pretty soon, down the road, you're like so far apart. You're like, what? We aren't even
Mhm.
like we're not even
Right.
close to the same
Mhm.
couple that we were even a year ago. And
Yeah.
again, I think, we have some experience with that too, right? Like maybe especially emotionally, right? We were very emotionally disconnected for a while.
I love that you brought up that point. If a husband is constantly like obsessed with his work or constantly scrolling his phone, is obsessed with social media or the news or whatever it is, or prioritizes hobbies outside the home, she's going to feel the exact same way, and she's probably going to pour into the kids because they need her and they want her. And it's really easy when your kids are cute and little and fun and they need you and you feel that like they will love me so much, I love them so much, to pour in where you're getting things back. And that's
Well,
why I wanted to kind of shift this. So now let's talk about moms. Like, why would they be doing that? And I'm glad that you brought that up, because when a husband isn't pouring into the marriage, she's not feeling emotionally connected. She's gonna pour into the kids. She's
Well,
going to
and if a
naturally.
husband is spending more time with his hobbies, spending more time scrolling, there's a reason he's doing that. He's not
Right.
just doing that because he wants to. He's probably doing that because he's like, man, my wife and I are so disconnected. I'm gonna go stay busy doing other things, like
Mhm.
whether it's hobbies or like you said, scrolling the phone or whatever like that. We're gonna fill our time with other things that we want because the most important thing, our spouse, we're
Right.
not getting that time filled there.
Right.
And for most marriages, like I said, if they just started prioritizing each other,
In a
you'd see
very
a lot
small
of
way.
things change.
It
Yeah,
just small way, right? It doesn't have to be anything extreme.
it doesn't. It's
It
so
doesn't.
small.
Okay, so let's talk about, there are seasons where the kids do take way more time. That is a okay, natural, healthy, normal thing. Okay? So for the husbands out there like, "Oh, she doesn't prioritize me anymore." Moms do a lot. Like the nurturing is tiring, it's exhausting, it's also amazing. It's got all these emotions, right? And it's really hard for a wife to take on a house and take on the kids and take on the meals and physically be thinking like, "Oh, I want to be intimate tonight." Like that, especially for libido. Obviously, we talked about those being tied to emotions in the last couple
Correct.
episodes, right? We've been really hitting on that. Libido is tied to emotions. So it comes down to what are you doing as a team partner? Are you feeling like teammates in your marriage? Are you like life partners together? Is she feeling that partnership in the marriage? Do you know what I mean? And then let's talk spouse. Like, are you still romancing her? Are you nurturing the marriage the way that you're wanting it to be nurtured, you to be nurtured
But
back? Like it's got to be give and take on both sides, right?
yeah, and let's be real. We see this where we live. There are a lot of couples our age. We get to see a lot. Like we sit back and get to see a lot of marriages and how people are acting and things like that. And I would say you see a lot of women that are just feeling their whole entire day with things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and some could be very important, like kids and things like that. But then you have them filling every ounce of time with other activities. Their kids are in 50 sports each, and like
It's exaggerating, but yeah,
that's
yeah,
not healthy,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
so I think a lot of times we have to own it and can't just say our lives are so busy. Like, what are we doing to make our lives so busy or make things so exhausting at the end of the day that we don't have
Right.
time to go on a walk, we don't have time to talk, we don't have time to go on a date night, we don't have
Mhm.
time to, you're too tired to connect intimately. Like, we have to take some ownership of what we're doing instead of just blaming it. Oh, as a husband or as a wife, I just have too many things I have to do. We have to take some
Mhm.
ownership because we do have some control over that.
Right. So let's talk Saturdays. Like a lot of husbands are like, Saturday's my golf day. I'm going out with the buddies. I'm not against that, but are you coming home and are you saying, hey, it's you get to go take 4 hours tonight or today? You get to go take those hours and go do something that, builds you up, is good for you. And then, hey, maybe later tonight we get a babysitter, go on a date, and then connect. Like marriage is give and take on both sides. And
For sure.
so both husbands and both wives have to look at this and be like, if I want to be nurtured in this marriage, I got to be giving that. Right? If a husband
100%.
is feeling like the kids are first, okay, look back first and say, okay, what am I doing to make my wife feel loved? If I want her to feel loved. I want to feel loved. I need her to feel loved also, right? Like we
Absolutely.
have to look at each other. So my next question is, we kind of answered this, can both marriage and kids be prioritized? And what does that balance look like? And it's not a 50-50. It's not oh, well, if you spend this much time with the kids, I get this much. It's never like that. It's going to be like 99% taking care of your children because you decided to do that as parents.
Yeah.
And then how do we save 2%, 5%, 10% for each other at the end of the day, whatever you need in your marriage? How do we do that? What does that look like? What do we need to cut back on? What do we need to drop so that we have more time for each
So I
other?
can say for our marriage, I feel totally prioritized as a husband.
And I dawdle on my kids like
But
crazy. Yes.
absolutely. And what I was gonna say is Amy Amy makes Amy and I go on walks together at night, right? That's one reason I feel prioritized. We go sit in the hot tub and we talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
A couple times a week, we're intimate. I know that she makes that a priority as well too. She does very, how do I say this? It's those small little things that don't take much time or effort, but I 100% feel like the happiest husband in the world. I really do, like
Mm-hmm.
because I feel prioritized, yet the kids are getting 100 times more time than I am. And I'm
Of
okay with
course.
that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
So 99% of the time, the kids are getting the attention and, whatever. But when we do have those times together, she's giving me full attention. I'm giving her full attention. And we recognize how important it is and we make it a priority, right? We're like,
Right.
okay,
Right.
we're going to make this priority. Maybe it's hard this night or whatever, but we're still, instead of just, you know, canceling something or canceling a date night, like we still make everything a priority in our
Okay, so if
marriage.
a wife is super tired and she's like, I like the kids took a lot out of me today. The kids took a lot out of me. If a wife was to say, honey, I love you so much, like tonight's just not the night to be intimate. I'm sorry, I'm physically exhausted from the kids, which is totally fine to say. But hey, me and you tomorrow night, once the kids are in bed, me and you tomorrow night, husband's gonna be like, dude, that
That's
is the
fine.
best rejection ever.
Yeah.
I understand that the kids wore out today. She's mentally exhausted. She's been had a lot on her plate. The fact that or couple nights, if you say, I want us time. I want a date with just me and you. Like, I love you so much. Those simple words can literally make your husband feel like he's number one.
100%, 100%.
And that's the whole point. It's just this easy. We're
Yeah,
overcomplicating it. Your
and
kids are going to take more time. Your husband doesn't need much time. He's not asking for that. He's asking to feel prioritized just a little bit. Just a little bit.
yeah, and like you said, it's all about how you can reject and just say, I'm not in the mood. I don't want to. And that's
Mhm.
total rejection for him, right? Like he's gonna
I'm tired. The
feel
kids wore me out. Yeah.
he's gonna feel totally unloved. But like you said, if you say, hey, I'm really worn out tonight with tomorrow night work, he's gonna feel zero rejection.
Right.
He's
Right.
gonna feel,
It changes
yeah,
everything.
for
It changes
sure.
everything. Before I jump to the next point, I just want to say phones. I know we talk about phones killing intimacy, but this goes both ways. Like if you have time to scroll your phone when you're at home and your spouse is by you, you have time to spend with each other, right?
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
it's just,
For sure.
yeah, right? Like I just wanted to throw that in there. And that goes absolutely both directions all the way. Um, okay, how if a spouse is feeling like either a wife or a husband, if a spouse is feeling offended, deprioritized, a little bit hurt, a little bit rejected, whatever, emotionally, physically, sexually, whatever, how do you bring that up without being offensive? Because the way you fix this issue is to be able to come to your spouse and say, I know you love the kids. I want you to love the kids. I know they're your top priority. They're my priority. We love our children. We chose to have children together. Our marriage is struggling. I just don't feel as loved anymore. What do you think is the
I
best way to do that? Because I think that's
that
what's
is a
happening.
great
Because the
question.
husband just come up and says, "Do you love me as much as the kids?" Which is like legit
It's kind of a
question.
loaded question that could,
It starts a real discussion. I'm so happy that our friends told us that he asked her that. She didn't get offended by that question. She didn't get mad and be like, "What are you talking about? Our kids come." Of course it wasn't like a husband, you should be able to ask those kind of questions in your marriage without freaking out and being like, I can't believe you just said that. He's feeling a certain way. She might bring it up. She's feeling a certain way. Like we have to be able to say, I'm not feeling prioritized in this marriage. Like I do question if you love me as much as these kids by your actions, by I just want to know that answer. And for a wife to look back and be like, oh my gosh, like this is obviously something we need to talk
well,
about.
and I'm glad you brought that up because most of the time when husbands are contacting us, the very first question we ask is what? Have you talked to your spouse?
Right.
They're
No, I
like,
don't
no,
get
no, I'm way too scared to do that. Well, you got to talk to your spouse. So there's a lot of husbands out there, maybe even wives out there that are afraid to bring something up with their spouse.
right.
And we recognize it's not easy.
Mhm.
But first of all, it's how you bring it up, right?
Right.
Are you pointing the fingers and immediately saying, you just never have time for me? What,
Right.
you're always doing this, or hey, sweetie, I'd like to talk about just our marriage and kind of where
Mhm.
things are at and get your
Mhm.
thoughts and just see how we can, get closer with each other. And, so it's
Absolutely.
number one, it's all about how you bring it up. And number two, it's going to be hard to bring it up, but it's during those tough conversations that your marriage is going to grow the most, right?
Oh
The
my
other the
gosh, I
other
love
option
this.
is
Yes.
the other option is you just sit and do nothing, and then your marriage gets worse and worse and
Mhm.
worse. So you have to have that tough conversation. And the chances are your spouse is, if you're feeling a certain way, your spouse is probably feeling a certain way as well too. And having that discussion, you can get everything out, understand how your spouse is feeling. Then maybe you can help your spouse take
Mhm.
some things off her plate. um,
She
Obviously,
Well, she might say, I prioritize the kids because I literally have to. I'm doing everything. She might unload and be like, I'm exhausted, honey. Like I don't feel like you prioritize the kids as much as you should because I feel like I'm doing everything. That opens up a whole can of like, we have some issues in our marriage, and the only way you get a more intimate marriage is to fix the issues.
yeah,
But you can't fix the issues in your
unless
marriage
you know
unless
what they
you
are.
bring them up, right? And you learn how to discuss them and talk about them. So like when we were emotionally connected, I was like, I feel like I'm sexually broken. I literally don't want it anymore. Like that's a pretty big band-aid to rip off, right? And he's like, whoa, wait, what? I thought everything was great. And also I'm like, no, it's not great. And then all of a sudden you have these discussions. There might be some arguments. There might be a little bit of contention.
That's okay.
Sometimes marriage takes that to fix it. And like when you can fix this aspect, like I want you to feel loved. I want you to feel prioritized in this marriage. Our marriage comes first for our kids. Best thing you can give your kids.
And that,
And
and
when you realize as a team, you're like, yeah, like if we can give ourselves this amazing marriage, our kids are going to benefit. And the minute moms realize, like, when I have a strong marriage, I'm giving so much more to my kids that all the stuff I think that's making them happy in the
yeah.
long run, you have a solid marriage, that's what's going to make your kids happy.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's so true. When your marriage is stronger, it's not just benefiting your marriage, it's also benefiting your kids. Your kids see
Right.
that. Like
Right.
I know for a fact our kids see that because,
Hmm.
just date night and the things that we do and prioritizing things, like they can see that Amy and I really truly love each other and put our marriage first. And I there's no doubt in my mind that they're growing up to be better kids
Hmm.
because they see that. Our kids come to us all the time and they're like, you know, our kids are getting to the age where,
They notice
they're
that.
dating and they're like, seeing the type of person they want to marry and things like that. And they talk to us all the time and they're like, I want a marriage like this. This is what I want. And,
That is the
and so they're
best.
really seeing, and wanting what we're showing them a good marriage can be. That doesn't mean our marriage is perfect. We're
No.
not going to sit here and say it is, but we work really hard and we do prioritize each other. And like
In
I've said
simple
this,
ways.
before, as of right now, like I couldn't imagine our marriage being better.
Which is awesome, but it took a lot of work.
Yeah,
It took a lot of
and it
work,
still
and it took a
takes
lot of
work.
really hard
Absolutely.
discussions, right? Really hard
Absolutely.
discussions like this, like a lot of discussions like this. I don't feel prioritized. Okay, let's talk about why.
Yeah,
I
and
want you to feel
that's why we're
prioritized.
sharing these things on the podcast is because it's been life-changing for us. Like
Right.
we went from, like I said, virtually
Hmm.
on the brink of divorce to now I feel like we
Right.
have a wonderful marriage and it's so awesome when marriage is great, there's nothing better. It's just awesome.
There's nothing better than you can give your kids. Nothing. Like if you love your kids, they don't deserve to see you disconnected and arguing and fighting and not having fun together. Like they're gonna take that. If you love your kids, don't you want them to have a happy marriage of their own one day? Like that brings so much happiness when a marriage is healthy, and they're learning that from you. I don't. So many parents just don't understand that.
Yeah.
Last one is goals, couples. Well, hold on. Before we jump to this one, I came up with 9 questions to ask each other if you feel like this is an issue in your marriage, just to make it a little bit easier. Like, I don't even know where to start, Kate.
Yeah, that's great.
So tell me what you think of each of these. When do you feel most loved and prioritized by me? It's not a finger pointing question. It's not an insulting questions. It's a back and forth. When do you feel most loved by me?
It's a great
That's a
question.
great question for
Yeah.
couples. Do you ever feel like the kids come before you? And if so, what does that look like? Why do you feel that way? How can I reassure you that you're my spouse first, even during busy seasons? What small daily habits could we add that would strengthen our marriage connection? Are there times when I've made you feel unseen or unappreciated? When you ask a question like that, you have got to be ready for some feedback. You have
Absolutely.
got to be strong enough and in a good place to be like, you know what,
I
I
can receive criticism
I can
if
receive criticism and try harder. That's what a marriage takes. How do you see our roles as parents and spouses? What balance feels healthy to you? What does it look like? What's one thing I could do this week to make you feel more prioritized? Just one thing.
yeah.
Start with one thing this whole week, not even every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
One
start
little
with one
thing.
week. One a week.
And like we said, that one thing or one
Hmm.
or two things for the whole week are going to change the whole dynamic of your marriage.
And a wife might say, I would love for you to plan this romantic date night, and it would look something like this, and it would make me so happy.
And the husband would be
And the
like, all
husband's
right,
like,
yeah,
done,
done. Yeah.
done. How do you recharge emotionally, physically, spiritually, and how can I support you for that? And what would balance, quote, balance between marriage and kids look like to you in our season of life right now? That's what's important because our kids took way more time when they were little, less time now because they're so independent now. So things change. And so you have to be supportive of each other at each stage because they're always changing.
Yep.
They're always changing. I had a lady comment on something like a month ago, and she says, I just don't understand how you can like prioritize your marriage when your kids are little. Like we have like 4 kids under the age of 8. I was like, oh,
Wow.
that's what we had. We
Yeah.
had 4 kids under the age of 8, and there's people that have 4 kids under the age of 4. Like, and my answer was, oh my gosh, we had way more time back then than we do now. Our kids actually went to bed at
Oh
night.
yeah, for sure.
And she's like, wait, what? Like, I'm like, our kids are teenagers now. They're getting home at
Oh
like
yeah.
11, 12 on
And then they want to
weekends.
talk.
And then they want to talk, which is awesome. But I'm like, our kids went to bed at 8, 8:30, even 9 on weekdays. And we had time every single night, just the two of us.
Luckily, our kids are on the cross country team and they go to bed at 9 or 9:30.
But like
too, so.
weekends they don't.
Oh, that's
You
true.
know what I
That's
mean?
true, yeah.
So anyways, this is going to look different to every couple depending on your kids, their personalities, what their needs are, what their stage is. But that's a really important question. What would balance between marriage and kids look like to you in the season right now? And I think
Yep.
that's something that needs to be discussed all the time.
Agreed, 100%.
So, my takeaway was I was trying to point out was just it's really just like a simple text. It's not something to be overthought. I think if you asked your husband right now, what would make you feel super loved, or what is prioritizing our relationship first over our kids look like, I think his answer would be something that's like, oh, if you just touched me at night or gave me a huge hug when I walked in the door. Like it's just really that simple.
Yeah, I think for a lot of couples out there listening that just don't have the marriage that they want, it really is like just a couple simple little things. If you're in a healthy relationship where you treat each other pretty well and things like that, it really is just the little simple things that are going to be transformative in your relationship. I mean, it's not big, crazy things that you feel like, oh my heck, we can never do that.
Yeah, agreed.
So
yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode. If we missed something, if we missed something, let us know. We'll do part 2. If you have different thoughts on the subject,
let us know.
Write us an email. Let us know. If you have a site and you're like, this doesn't work, you didn't bring this part up, please let us know. We're open to criticism and just suggestions.
Heck yeah, we are.
And a lot of these questions are on the Ultimate Intimacy app because we created it to get you more emotionally connected first. So if you're like, those are some really good deep questions, I want to go ask my spouse, go jump on the app, go to intimate questions, go to just the regular conversation starters like the intimacy section. There's questions like, how do I love you better? How do I prioritize you more? And if you're just flipping and scrolling through the app questions and they just pop up, like it's not going to be awkward for you to bring up to your spouse.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's just super helpful, right?
Yeah, people really love the conversation starters and questions because if the app's asking the question, it doesn't, you don't feel as vulnerable. So, maybe that's a way to approach it and pull some questions off the app and get the conversation started.
I also wanted to mention before we close out, the Let's Talk About Sex book that me and Nate put out at the beginning of this year it's not just about let's talk about sex. It's about how to emotionally connect, why emotional connection needs to come first. And it has the 20 things that wives want the husbands to know and 20 things husbands want wives to know. And it's deeper than let's just talk about sex. Like literally, like there's questions and this is why I need this first. This is why I feel this way. This is why you need to keep dating each other. Like there's so many different topics that will help you discuss. And it pairs great with our Let's Talk About Sex card deck, which is also go hand in hand with that. If you just struggle with conversation, I mean, this is really a conversation topic, right?
Yeah.
And changes your entire intimate life. So.
Yeah. Go to shop.ultimateintimacy.com and you can get the combo with the book and the card deck. And like I said, with a very small investment, it can be life-changing for your marriage. So check it out. And thank you for listening to the podcast. Until next time.